That's been sitting there for a while.
All right. We're back.
Hello.
It's been a long time.
Been a little bit. You know?
I think the last time we did one was before the Super Bowl, maybe?
It might have been. Yeah.
So
definitely.
We haven't been on a pod since.
Look, I've been here. I've been trying to be here, and then you're just not here.
It just hasn't worked out. Well,
tax season.
Tax season is here. One of the things I was going to talk about today is kind of where we are with tax season is coming from like the IRS numbers, but then we're also getting into some of this Trump hiring freeze and DOGE and
It's wild.
It's getting wild out there, and there's plenty to talk about.
Yes.
So I'm just going to kick this off. I think we can see this is from February 14th. These are the IRS numbers. And it looks to me that we are still behind.
A little bit, but it always tends to seem to be that way as far as, and then there's catch up plus what season started a week later this year.
Yeah.
Or
well, I think it was it pretty close to the last time or last year?
I can't even remember. A few days different though. Definitely started a little bit later.
It looks like they're behind 5% roughly between professionals and self-prepared is about the same.
Right.
The average direct deposit refund amount is down 31%.
I think that's mostly because of the EIC holds. I think those should be starting to fund now.
So, yeah, the PATH Act.
Yeah, so that should catch
Once
up.
We get the next number, that'll probably flatten out.
Yeah. Website usage is way down.
Yeah. No one
cares.
Well, I think the IRS wants that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, I think there's nothing to be concerned about as far as everything getting processed.
Yeah, I think especially in the next coming weeks, those numbers should start to flatten out and run more consistent with what it was in the prior year, but still a little catching up left to do.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go into our first story here. This is from Accounting Today. This was, I think, on the 20th, so last week, where Trump came out, signed an executive order telling everyone to stop hiring people with the government.
Yeah.
Including the IRS. So, yeah. Any thoughts onto Trump coming out, kind of putting a freeze on everybody hiring? I think what they're trying to do is like, all right, calm everyone.
Stop it so they can figure out the
budget. We need to figure out some stuff, and then get the right people where they need to go.
Yeah, I think as they start to get some things sorted out, that might change. But also with him wanting to get rid of the IRS, and who knows if that's part of the plan.
Is that the goal?
We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know what his actual plan with the IRS is, but for the time being, I think the freeze is something so they can just kind of get control of everything and see moving parts need to.
Yeah, also freezing and cutting people, but then again, it's kind of hard to say. I'm not sure exactly where they are as far as behind or caught up with all their paper files that have been sitting there with the delays. I know they keep saying they're getting closer to being caught up with the prior year stuff, but if he makes all these cuts and freezes the hiring and fires a bunch of people, it's kind of, will they ever get caught up?
Mm-hmm.
Seems to be.
Yeah, they hired a bunch of people when they got the funding from the last act in the Biden administration. So there was a surplus of individuals there.
Mm-hmm.
But for right now, this kind of leads into this story.
Yeah.
Is the plans to let some of these people go.
Yeah.
I guess, when was this article? This is another Accounting Today article, the 21st. So a day after that other story is their plan to just fire 1,000 people. What I read was they
6,700
let they like canceled all these people's accounts and then try to fire them by email, but then they couldn't fire them because they don't have the accounts anymore.
Yeah.
So now they're going to mail out the notices that says, "Hey, you're fired."
Just makes no sense.
And this is part of DOGE. I think the article actually gave the number. It was like $200,000 in postage.
For just the postage.
Just to mail that you're fired. It's
also a pretty brutal way to just get fired in the mail.
Yeah.
You're fired.
Yeah.
Should have just been a video of Trump.
But I mean, okay, we stopped hiring them. Now we're going to fire a bunch of people during tax season.
Seems like a wild
A lot
move.
of people are probably not happy. I mean, the IRS is like go time.
Right.
And, we're trying to process returns. We're about to kick off one of the largest funding dates or weeks of the year. And now we're firing a bunch of people. Probably not the best as far as efficiency goes. Thoughts on that?
The fact it's all happening, I mean, obviously coming into office now and he's starting to make the changes, but the fact that he's making all these changes to the IRS amid tax season, I mean, could it probably have waited till maybe, I don't know, April and then have this all sorted out? But that seems wild to me. Being the fact that they're still probably pretty significantly behind, I don't know, cutting, 6,700 employees. I mean, overall, the IRS probably has a lot of employees, so 6,700 is probably a small percentage of the actual workforce they have. So would it make that big of a difference? Technically, probably not a huge impact, but it does seem wild that all this is taking place like during the actual season, where it's
a lot of this is just moving really rapid.
Yeah.
And it looks like with DOGE, they're coming in and just making all these determinations of what needs to be done very quickly, based off of all these people that Elon has coming in and looking at the records. I can't imagine firing a bunch of people at the IRS during this time is going to make it more efficient. But again, the goal is, I guess, to trim the fat, so to speak, to see, what actually needs to be there to produce. But it's just bad timing right now. It just
seems that way, but maybe they're doing this in a way to show potentially maybe that
everything can run smoothly without these people.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say. And plus, with them having to be back in office, maybe that.
Yeah. He also said, hey, you got to come back and work in the office.
Can make it more efficient without having people outside the office working on stuff. So just seems like a wild time to do it, but I guess we'll have to see how it all pans out.
Yeah. It seems like every day I get on X and there's something else going crazy. So, yeah, we have to just see what that looks like. But, yeah, since we've been gone, there's been a lot of movement as far as what Trump signed, what's going into effect, how DOGE is handling all these agencies. With that, there's news that's coming out with this new DOGE stimulus check.
Yeah.
And if you remember COVID stimulus checks.
That was fun.
There was a lot that went into that. What was it? So it looks like the goal of DOGE was like $1 trillion to cut from the budget.
Two.
Was it two?
Yeah.
Yes, $2 trillion, and then like 20% of that would go back to the taxpayers' pockets in these DOGE dividends or whatever you want to call them. On the surface, sounds great.
Yeah.
Giving $5,000 back to everyone in America, basically.
I'd take it. I wouldn't complain.
But the kind of what I wanted to get into is, individuals that are preparing for this, what can be done to, because if we remember the last time they sent out these checks, it's
pain.
It was a mess.
Yeah.
So if I remember correctly, it went to the account on the return. Mm-hmm. So if you did a direct deposit, it's going to that account that you used the direct deposit on.
Right.
If you used because they did two of them, right? 2 rounds of these. So if you use a bank product, so for the listeners, if they don't know, some people that file their tax return, and so they don't have to pay up front, they use this bank product that is an actual deposit number.
Yeah, and that's what the IRS sees as the routing and account number.
And so I think there's an extra layer to that. So you have that bank product account number on there, but there's I want to say it's called the ultimate account number, and that will drill down to the actual individual's bank that it's getting deposited into. So there's like 2 layers there that the government needs to see, because if they send it back to that bank product, it's going to the bank.
I'm trying to remember how that all worked. I know there was an issue. I think it initially got rejected back to the IRS, and then they would just eventually mail out a paper check.
Yeah.
But there was, if I remember correctly, if you had a bank account and did a bank product, there was some portal on the IRS website where you could log into that to enter new banking information for it.
Mm-hmm. So basically what I'm trying to get to is, if you're filing taxes this year, and this is something that may look in the future, you may want to start thinking of like, hey, telling your taxpayers like, hey, make sure your account information is correct. Make sure it's up to date. If these come out, if you change it, make sure that you're going to be able to change it with wherever these are getting sent through.
Right. There's got to be, if this happens, and they would probably, I thought there was some sort of system on the IRS website.
There was.
So like that would be obviously the avenue to go if you close your account, change your account, whatever.
I think it gave you like a deadline.
Yeah.
But who knows how they're going to distribute these either.
That's true too.
Elon might drop them on the drones. We all actually know what the drones are for. Now they just come and drop $5,000 on your doorstep.
Just in $single bills just raining down. Yeah, it's wild. But also kind of skimming through and reading through the rest of this article, it doesn't seem like there's a hope for it, but not a lot of high promise for them to hit that $2 trillion mark as far as making all the cuts in order to make it necessary. So maybe there does come a point where they are releasing some sort of dividend from DOGE, but will it be 5,000? Or is it going to be some reduced amount? If they only hit $1 trillion, then is it going to be 2,500 or however that might be?
Yeah, because I think a lot of it, I was listening to a podcast and they were like, they're basically, because they came out and they were like asking people, like, if you know of places that need to be audited by DOGE, tell it to us.
Yeah.
And this $5,000 is like a reward.
Incentive.
They're like incentivizing us to like rat out these companies.
Right.
That
State and local government issues. And
so, I mean, that's part of trying to get to that number.
Yeah. I mean, it could be possible.
Yeah. But I mean, I would think, I want like the $5,000 is great, but like our national debt is a giant problem as well. So a lot of that money is going to go back to that, I would think.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what they had in there. If they do hit the $2 trillion, 20% goes, in theory, they have it laid out to the taxpayers, and then the other 20% going to reducing that deficit tax debt we're in. No, give me the money.
Yeah.
I'd like it.
Yeah. I mean, yes, everyone would like the $5,000. One of the things I saw this and I screenshotted it. This is the email that DOGE is sending out to all these government, these agencies. And it basically says, please reply to this email with approximately 5 bullets of what you accomplished last week and CC your manager. Please do not send classified information. So so if you're going into work and you get that email, I mean, how hard is it to, say 5 things that you're currently working on?
Should be easy, but also, but we've kind of joked about, what if everything you're working on is classified?
Right.
Because a lot of the government
just put classified 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Been busy. Can't say. It's when I first saw, I saw something about that. I think it was just yesterday. I thought it was kind of a joke as far as him sending an email out to a bunch of like FBI agents, like, what have you worked on in the last week? It's like, how can they even say that?
Yeah. We're in crazy times for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was pretty much all the news since we were out. I mean, they're basically hiring freeze, and then they're going to fire an X amount of IRS employees, and then this DOGE $5,000 stimulus could be coming if we hit a goal. I don't even know if that's certain. It's a big headline right now.
That's what they're kind of saying is maybe next year, 2026, that these could be expected, but just time will tell as far as what kind of savings they're able to make and if it's doable or not. And then I think it said it'd also have to, got to go through Congress will they pass that. And it's kind of all speculation at this point. I mean, be nice, but also then again, accounting wise, how are you going to deal with that? Is it going to be similar to how the stimuluses were accounted for, checking whether or not you actually received it?
Mm-hmm.
Do you receive it through the tax return if you didn't receive it? So that all can.
Hopefully they've got it figured out after the last two, because the logistics on it were kind of a nightmare, and we were like in the middle, the middle of that, and it was just all over the place.
I won't hold my breath for it to go smoothly, but
but yeah, so this week, like I think we touched on the giant PATH Act funding.
Mm-hmm.
That should be hitting bank accounts this week.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly.
I think it was 24 and 26.
Yeah, it's coming soon.
Yeah, so there's a lot of money hitting the streets. But as far as in-house items, we're in the middle of tax season.
Mm-hmm.
Software is going great, and looking forward to the summer. We have all these like trade shows.
Got those all scheduled up.
Like for me, we're trying to get scheduled to all these trade shows, and there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
But we'll see the ones that we attend, and when we know, we'll let everybody know. But yeah, any final thoughts on anything that we talked about today?
Show me the money.
Tanner wants the DOGE checks coming. One thing we didn't touch on, did you see the Social Security numbers? And I've heard a couple
360 years old.
Yeah. There's all these people that are 300, 200 years old getting Social Security. I've seen stories where this has been debunked, kind of.
Has it?
Because I think some of them, they reuse the socials.
Oh, okay.
I don't really know the true story on it, but I saw Elon, he tweeted the image of all the amount of people that were getting Social Security that were basically 200 years old.
Yeah.
And it's just
I kind of saw that. It was funny. Then was it?
It can't be just that a mess. You know what I'm saying?
It's still all right. So if it was a reused social, okay, so maybe that person isn't 360 years old, but how is that still in the system as that?
Right.
It was fun. But yeah, I saw the presser when he's talking about it. He's like, and by my calculation, that's about 110 years older than this country.
Yeah.
It's pretty absurd.
I think a lot of the systems that are being used by these federal government agencies are just outdated, and they just need to be updated.
Not checked
and
or
I'm
maintained
sure it's
well.
a nightmare to do that.
Oh, it's got to be.
So at some point,
that's why
you got to do it.
Elon has his team of super genius teens. Did you see their ages?
Yeah, they're really young.
Wild.
Yeah, and they're going into these high level agencies and just saying, okay, well, what reports are you pulling?
Yeah.
But we'll see. It should be very interesting going forward. I'm glad to have another pod with you.
Yes.
And we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.